Well, I can start. Pleasure.
You live? Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. So it's January 14th, 2025. We're gonna call this meeting to order. It is still 6:30, probably fixing to 6:31. So we'll call this meeting to order. There's a sign-in sheet. Have we gotten that passed around? People signed it? If you will, please make sure you sign that. It's something legal that we have to have on file. And is there, for this public hearing, is there anybody here with citizens input? There's none, so I'm gonna do this twice. I'm gonna do it now, and I'm gonna do it again because I feel like it's important. I was given something, this is something from Lake Tawakoni Regional Chamber of Commerce. Apparently, there's somebody that is going around and they're trying to sell things. Okay, they're trying to sell you advertisement. They're trying to act like they are the Chamber of Commerce, and they're not. So this is nothing more than an informational, okay, for your information. So I will repeat that again, just so you know, in our regular session meeting, but I feel like that's important to bring up, and announcements to me would let that fit in. So is there any other announcements by chance, or I'm sorry, citizens input? None? Okay. So we'll go to number 4, which is a public hearing, which is a variance for 717 Hemlock, West Tawakoni, Texas, 75474. Legal description is S2185 Banner Edition. That is Section 2, Block 4, Lot 49. It is 0.231 acres. It's zone SF2. The request is to grant a variance for the home to be built on the existing lot, which is lesser than the setbacks due to the city-imposed hardship because of the city street and the city sewer main run through the property. Is there anybody that has anything to say on that? I mean, there's a place for us to have discussion here. We welcome any discussion. We would like to discuss it during now and then once we get
say
into
something?
regular session. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the lot owner, so my name's George Roddy.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I bought the lot, my intent was to build a house on it, and when I had it surveyed after I purchased the property, I found that there's the right of way. I talked to the city attorney, and she said, no, it's not in your lot. And so I got another surveying company, because maybe the one I hired wasn't accurate, and both surveys came back with this right of way in my lot. So I understand there's a 15-foot side setback when it's on a corner. I'd like to do whatever I can to be able to build a house on that lot and still be safe of sewer lines, etc.
If you got any interaction, discussions, questions to talk about, it's open to talk about if you want to learn more about it. Everybody here is aware of it, understands the situation?
What's the minimum required for a SF2?
1,000
So the square footage or the setback?
The total area,
for the house, for the
For the
property,
For the
1,000 square foot.
1,000 square foot for the
Mhm.
house. How much, what's the square footage of the house you're building?
I haven't designed it yet. You know, I wanted to see how this went, but I built finishing a house next door, and it's 1,750 square feet. This one will probably be a little bit smaller, but it'll be over 1,500 square feet.
This is bigger than what's allowed, right?
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am?
Is this the appropriate place to talk about what the planning and zoning committee?
It's discussion, yes. I mean, we can discuss it. We won't be able to make any decisions here voting wise, but yes, we can discuss this in any sort of fashion.
The planning and zoning committee he was asking for a variance. And this is the kind of thing that a variance by our statutes is for.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
city has caused the hardship, and when the city causes the hardship, that's what the variance is for, to allow a person to still use the lot when the city has caused the problem. So we approved it. We did have some discussion that we can either talk about here or talk about in the meeting, but we definitely recommended approval of the variance.
I mean, it's an open discussion timeline item right now.
The Planning and Zoning Committee said, when we made the motion to approve the variance, we said there were three things that we brought up. One of which, we believe that the property owner should grant a permanent easement to the city for this.
For the sewer line.
For the sewer line and the streets. The last time that it came up before the planning and zoning, that the city ran a road through their property, that solution was replatting, but that you don't really need to do that. A permanent easement would work.
Right.
The other thing that we mentioned was that along with the easement, we believe that the property owner should be held, not have any liability for what happens on the street. Okay, so if something happens on the city street, the property owner can't be held liable.
Okay.
Okay, and then there was some discussion on how you were planning on building the driveway so that it would make it the easiest if the city ever has to tear up the sewer line. You know, how can you build a driveway to make you easy access to the sewer line? And that the city would, if you have to tear up the sewer line, return the driveway to the status that it was before the excavation.
Which is the standard practice for us.
I thought that it was. But anyway, so that was the discussion that happened in the P and Z.
And I think there was some discussion about putting a steel plate, a 36-inch steel plate, instead of putting concrete there, wherever the line is. I'd be agreeable to concrete, steel plate, just in case an excavator, bobcat, needs to get through there and dig up lines. But I'm open to whatever you guys come up with. So,
Chop saw, cut it, refill it.
I mean, you just have to pour concrete back.
Yeah. So we'd use the chop saw straight
Right,
lines.
yeah.
I don't think it'd be necessary. We
Okay.
just cut the concrete.
I didn't, yeah.
Anybody else got anything? Is that all that you had from EDC as far as discussion goes to disclose what went there? Okay. We might call on you to maybe reiterate some of that,
Sure.
especially when Lee is here. We could probably all kind of sort of explain too what you said. That's not a big deal. Y'all have anything? I know Shannon, you've dealt with this some too.
I mean, we've gone over this pretty well. I think we're okay with what we have.
Okay.
I mean, between myself, the attorney, we've got months in this at this point.
We do.
Anything else, sir?
No, I'm good.
We're gonna seem like we're gonna repeat ourselves again here shortly, but this is just part of the process that we have to go through to be legal and check our boxes off, right? So, okay, nobody else. We'll go around and make sure nobody else has any questions or thoughts on it. All right, so, right now, we're gonna go ahead and close this public hearing. It is 6:40. we will close this hearing and we will actually start a regular session at 7 o'clock. And that's due to, we would love to start early, but we can't because we have an ordinance that says we can't. So, okay, if you will go ahead, it's 7:40 or 6:40. 7:40. You good? Okay. All right, so now we're back for our regular session meeting. It is still January 14th, 2025, and it's now 7 PM, and we're going to call this meeting to order. And we're going to have invocation. We're going to follow it up with a pledge, and I think Miss Robin is going to grace us with leading us in the invocation. Thank you, Miss Robin.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful to you tonight for this gathering. And we ask that you guide our mayor and the city council with your wisdom to help them make good decisions for our city. And Father, we pray for those that are suffering with the tremendous losses due to the wildfires in California. We humbly ask that you keep them safe and give them strength and courage to continue and to unite as a community. And we lift them up to you as they face the difficult days ahead. And Father, we also ask that you watch over the first responders that are there that have the daunting task of putting out these fires. May they find your mercy as they overcome the loss and help them as they rebuild and restore what was tragically lost. And Father, please watch over our country, our city, our employees and staff as they do the work of our city, and watch over all of us as we go about our daily lives. We ask all of these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, so is there any announcements? Does anyone have any announcements? Anybody? Okay,
I mean, I can talk about our fund view transfer for conversion.
well, that'd be nice.
That is completely converted. Everybody should have received bills. They were late due to our conversion itself and then along with the post office. If there's any questions on your bill or if something doesn't look right, please call us because we are humans and this was a very daunting manual conversion. There will be errors, so we are working to fix them as they come in. So please be patient as we are going through that process. But it looks great. I like it.
Okay.
The bills look really
The
pretty.
reports that came out with it are great.
Yes.
The statement came today
Yes.
with our mailbox. It looks good.
Awesome. The bills, bills do look different. Whole sheet, no longer a postcard. It's got your account number on your new account number. It's got a QR code there that takes you directly to your bill to pay. There's a new online portal. So there's a lot of information with that.
And to add to that, there was some time lapse in the bills getting out and everybody not getting them or whatever the mayhem may be. There will not be any late charges for this cycle of billing. So I know that's been a big fear for all the citizens is there won't be a late charge. I mean, we've got to extend that out there because of what all took place. So we'll make it through this together and before we know it, it'll be easier and everybody will be getting their $1 discount when they go paperless and we'll all be happy. So, all right.
I didn't even get the bill.
It's coming.
I don't think we have
I
either.
paid already.
Yes,
So,
but it's coming.
okay. Any other announcements? Chief, you got anything in the hallway?
Exciting.
No? You sure? It's in the driveway or parking lot, whatever you want to call it.
Wait till both of them get
Well, I'll go ahead and announce it. Chief did pick his Tahoe, his new Tahoe back up, and it's got all the lights on it. And all I can tell you is, if you get behind him and he ends up turning his lights on for any reason, put your sunglasses on because if somebody comes up and he's got someone pulled over, they should see him without a problem. So it looks good, Chief. I don't know. I got to give a shout out. I'm proud of our vehicles and I'm glad we got it. I'm ready for us to get the other one done and get it back. So, okay.
And it did come in with the new county radio? Nice.
Oh, so I guess that's a good announcement. He has an upgraded radio that he can crystal
Yes.
clear here, everything going on. So I'm gonna bring up this Lake Tawakoni Regional Chamber of Commerce announcement again. So apparently there's somebody that's going around and they're trying to, say they're Lake Tawakoni Chamber of Commerce and they're not. So they're trying to charge for things and set up things that they're not, okay? The chamber isn't doing anything like that at this moment. And I would urge anybody that if they don't know, to call the chamber and ask before you do anything. So just don't, don't get anything messed up there and somebody ends up getting your account information and then you're having to clean up a mess. So,
Kevin, I can add to that.
yes, ma'am, go ahead.
What they're doing is they have actually taken the chamber's directory of businesses and members, and they are going down the list and they're trying to get, they claim that they're doing a map of the lake and they're trying to get them to sell ads for this map. That's what it is. That's one thing they're doing. I don't know all of it, but that's just one thing they're doing.
Yeah, from my understanding, they're pulling all kinds of tricks
And
out.
we do
trying-
have people that are businesses that are in that directory. So if you get a phone call, that's what it is.
Not good. Not a good situation at all. Okay, any other announcements before we move on to the next line?
Someone to call me, you know,
No. Okay. Citizens input, I don't think we had any actual citizens input that was given to me with anybody that was here.
Just looking for the thing.
Oh, it's right, it was under the sign.
Can I? Do it real quick.
So we do have one, Ms. Pam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I fill this out in a minute?
Absolutely. Well, we pretty much just put them together, citizens input period. Because we end up always having, usually the non-agenda, those people are.
It's related to the agenda item about the major bank accounts. I was concerned about that because I know there are two bank accounts we definitely can't move together. One of them is the occupancy tax can't be because of the way you have to spend it. And the second one would be the EDC account can't
Yes,
be
ma'am.
moved over. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear about that from the legal standpoint.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I
Thank you.
have.
Thank you.
I will fill this out.
Any other citizens input? No? Okay. We're gonna move to number 6, the consent agenda items, which is gonna be A through M. Any questions or anything on the consent agenda items?
So, the Public Works vehicle reports were not in there, but he did give them to us to view up here. Did notice that a couple of them here do not say what vehicle they're for, and then you take a look at that. So they're here, sorry, they weren't in the packet, but he did just give them to us. And then as far as the director's report, we were missing February, September, and December, had some computer issues.
Yes, sir.
So with December's, is it too late to get that one fixed?
No, I can, if you want me to, I can send it to all of you. I could probably do that tomorrow.
I'd like to see December's, and then also March, you got 2023, not 2024 in there.
Because of file.
I was trying to drag them over as fast as I could.
So, yeah, if you can pull up March when you get
I'll do that, and then if it's okay, I'll email it.
I'm good with that if everybody else is.
I'm fine with it.
So you would want to pass the consent agenda with the exception of the public, whatever you want from Public Works.
Okay.
Carry that to next month.
There's no other discussion on that?
Anybody else got questions on the consent agenda items?
So I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda items minus the Public Works vehicle reports that he's gonna be getting to us. Not Public Works, I'm sorry, the director's report.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
I have a second on that. Motion made by Chris, seconded by James. All in favor?
Yes.
We got to vote on that? You got your vote?
Yes.
Christopher Pitt.
So it's all in favor. I did miss one thing, guys, tonight. I'm sorry. Everybody sees Miss Jack is not here, so we can't ask her to vote. It's on. Okay, so we got that. We're gonna move to number 7, which is new business. Discussion and or take action to approve or deny variance for 717 Hemlock Drive, West Tawakoni, Texas, 75474. Legal description is the S2185 Danner Edition, Section 2, Block 4, Lot 49. It's 0.231 acres. It's zoned SF2. The request is to grant a variance for the home to be built on the existing lot with lesser setbacks due to the city-imposed hardship because the city street and sewer main run through the property. This is the same one that we just had in our public hearing, so that was sort of a repeat of what just happened 30 minutes ago. Okay, it's open to discuss.
And I want to just add, because I know I missed part of that, well, I missed the public hearing on this. Mr. Roddy has worked really hard with the city. He's done a really good job of coordinating with us, even when he was probably very frustrated with the city. We have worked with Mike to work out what a setback and what would be appropriate for the city that would not impede our actual sewer main that's been there. Our issue is really, we've had this roadway in place, we've had the sewer main in place. We're pretty sure probably back in the 50s, there was a farmer with a handshake deal and we slapped all this in. We've got what we would call a prescriptive easement. There's nothing recorded, but the second somebody filed suit against us, we would have that easement immediately. It's been there for so long. So he works with us and we're working with him. And I would also say I really appreciate P&Z. I know that they had to meet kind of in a hurry for a special meeting so we could get this done. Or so that we could bring this before council. And I know that they had to do it in the nastiest weather. So I think that was big of them to come out and deal with it. So
Absolutely.
I've looked at this. I know Mike has worked with us, Mr. Roddy and his group have. We feel pretty confident that this is what will work.
I've got a question. And he is the property owner and he's a developer. So at some point, the property will change hands.
Mhm.
So is there going to be an honest to goodness written easement for the property so that when he turns around and sells the property, he'll have an easement listed on the property?
This is the thing. I mean, he's welcome to give us an additional easement if you'd like to, but we have an easement. We have been using this for just about, we think like 70 years. I mean, really, some of this stuff was in the 50s. I think the sewer main dates back to sometime in the 70s, prior, maybe 60s, like 80s.
Late 60s.
Yeah. So we have been open and notoriously using this. We have got this easement in the property. It is, at this point, it is the city's easement. What never happened is nobody ever recorded anything, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So if anybody were to, like I said, Mr. Ryle, I'm happy if he would like to go ahead and record that, but we can't make him. But I can assure you that if anybody tried to pursue it and say that it was theirs, they would know him.
I think what you're saying is we, the city, cannot record that because we're not the property owner or the property buyer or the property seller. The only people that can do that would be the people that have the property in their possession as far as ownership. Does that make sense? The city can't, I mean, it's kind of like annexing, right? The city, we can't go out and annex, but if you have property and you want to annex into our city, we can absolutely welcome that and help you along the way of doing that.
And this is specific to public use. This has been made, this is a public use easement is what it is. It's just, like I said, it has not been recorded, but it is openly and been used for the public. That's why we call it a prescriptive.
It's an established road
Right.
for 60 years.
So what, in these kinds of situations, what is the property owner's liability for owning the
You'd have
street?
to consult with his attorney as to liability between him and a subsequent purchaser.
Pass that by me again.
He's the owner of the property. His liability to a subsequent purchaser, that's gonna be between him and that purchaser.
No, I mean, if, say someone had an accident on the road, God forbid, and, you know, somebody in an accident usually sues everybody in the chain. You know. So could they reach him
For an
for
accident.
liability?
There was an accident.
I think she's talking about, let's say if somebody got, God forbid, ran over on that road. Somebody walking on that road got ran over, if we're trying to put a scenario out there. I think the question is, could that person that got ran over, that say is gonna sue the person in the car that ran over them drunk?
You couldn't sue a property owner under that circumstances anyways, unless they created a dangerous situation.
Right.
So
I mean,
that's,
I think the situation here that we're reaching for straws, because
yeah,
in all reality, a person could be, for all intentional purposes, they could be walking down a sidewalk, right? And they could be walking across a person's driveway that connects to the other sidewalk, which that driveway in turn now becomes that person's property. I guess we could all agree at that. And if a car runs off the road and hits that person in that driveway, that property owner cannot be sued or have any responsibility, because the person that created the issue was the one driving the car.
yeah.
You know, I've just, from a planning and zoning standpoint, you know, this came up and we
Yeah.
didn't.
I'm
not a lawyer, so I don't
I
understand.
think the extent of the issue that we've kind of anticipated is that they're gonna need to put a driveway in, and we understand that we're going to end up, if we've got to access that section, we're gonna end up having to drill into that driveway and repairing it. So we understand that that's what's gonna happen,
And
okay?
That's all, I
Right.
mean, we have to do that now.
Yeah, and that's not specific to this property, that happens in the city, okay?
Look like you got all kinds of questions, Jim. Come on.
When the lawyer talks, you
You
know.
let me down.
but-
You let me down. I thought you were gonna ask a bunch of big questions. So we'll just go around. Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts, concerns? No? No? Chris?
No, I can answer.
We'd entertain a motion for this.
I make a motion, we approve the variance for 717 Hemlock, excuse me, Drive.
A second on that?
I'll second it.
I think that was true.
Judge Goder.
Chad? All right, so Chris made the motion, Chad seconded. We got votes on that,
Judge Goder.
Chris Burkett.
and it is anonymous across the board. Okay? So that's gonna take us to 7B, discussion and or take action to approve or deny consolidation of major bank accounts. And that's you, Ms. Mary, you're up.
So with our new software, we have the capabilities to consolidate the 18 checking accounts that we have. Not completely consolidating them under one, because we do have some that cannot be consolidated, but we are going to try to consolidate all of our operating funds to where I don't have to run payroll out of two different funds. They can all be together, but still be pulled out of their same funds. It's all automated this way. So the ones I'm looking at consolidating at this moment is our general fund, our water sewer. Where's that one? It's all on my line here. Our interest and sinking, our water deposits, our municipal court building security, municipal court tech fund. And that is it at the moment. That'll condense it down quite a bit. Anybody have any questions on the process?
So there's,
Interesting thinking.
Yes, so when I was talking with the software company, it would be its own fund within the fund. So that was,
Confident that one would be, because that's the only one that. would be-
yes,
okay.
that would be completely separate. We don't
Okay.
do much of that anyway.
the software is going to separate this.
Yes, it's gonna be completely separated, similar to how you already see your reports, but it's, instead of breaking it down, it's gonna show it under consolidated cash, and then it'll say the general fund departments, and then it's gonna have the water sewer departments. That way I can operate out of one fund and it automatically do the separation. Right now, I'm having to operate out of this one, and pull from here to pull from there to make it all make sense. For vendors, for example, if part of my vendor, I need to pay out of general fund and part of it needs to come out of water sewer, they're getting two checks. This way I can give them one check and they can pay their invoice a whole lot easier than paying a partial part of it and then bringing another partial part.
It'll make it a lot more streamlined.
100%.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since your Is it all right if I ask? May I ask?
We're not really supposed
well,
to, but
It's more, maybe it's more like a comment. On, when you consolidate all those checking accounts, I know that banks federally insure your accounts. Will that amount be so large that we will not be able to be insured for all, if the bank, and I'm not saying the bank will ever fail, but should it fail, would we be okay?
Yes,
We
we
will.
have security pledges already with.
Sorry.
I didn't hear the answer. What is it?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear the answer.
Yes, everything is still covered.
So you can only do how much?
We have security.
250.
We have security pledges that cover everything over their federal insured amounts.
we have security pledges.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Hopes or dreams? Nobody?
No.
Okay, so we entertain a motion to approve or deny the consolidation of the checking accounts.
Make a motion to approve the checking accounts.
Okay,
I'll second it.
motion made by Chad, seconded by Chris. We got votes on that?
Chris Burkett.
Chad Jacoby.
Okay, so all the way across, it's passed. All right, that'll take us to 7C, discussion or take action to approve or deny resignation of Pam Reed as EDC president. I would like to, before anybody makes a motion, I would like to say that the city appreciates you being on that board, appreciates the work that you did, and appreciates your time, right? I think that that's one thing we all forget and miss, that the thing that all of us give when we're doing anything is time. And, you know, you probably spent money, you spent some of your own money, your fuel getting there and all those things, and that's great, that's fine. Even if it was $1 million, it's not worth as much as your time that you spent. So your time is appreciated. And thank you very much for volunteering to do that.
No problem.
Anybody else?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Nobody else has anything? So give a round of applause for. Thank you, Ms. Pam. We're gonna need a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion. We accept Pam's resignation.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Chris, seconded by James. We got votes?
Chad Jacoby.
Randy Lindsay.
James.
Chris Burkett.
All in favor? So that'll take us to, thank you, Ms. Pam. That'll take us to 7D, discussion or take action to approve the resignation of Jack McConnell as council place 3. Our city has been taking some hits, guys. And Miss Jack told me that I could let everybody know kind of what's going on. I know, you know, I hate it that there's been a whole lot of rumor around town, this, that, and the other. And I can promise you to everybody out there, the rumor is not true. It has nothing to do with anything that this council or any person in this council or any person in this city has said or done to make somebody quit this council. What has happened is Miss Jack has a very, very severe heart issue. And she is fully okay with me sharing that. I won't go into as much detail as she has given me. I will ask you, if you have faith, if you wouldn't mind praying for her, okay? I think when she told Lee and I about it, we both about fell out. And she said, yeah, I know, I'm probably one of the best looking sick people you've ever seen. And she was 100% right in that, because I had no idea. This condition is very serious. And she actually, in order to be able to continue life, she is going to have to be looking at a transplant. And that's not very cool in any sense.
And soon.
Very soon.
And soon.
So I would ask that if you know Jack, reach out to her by text, whatever. She has been in the hospital since December 21st. So it's been a really tough go for her. She spent Christmas in the hospital. And, you know, keep her in your thoughts and prayers. If you do know her, lift her up. So unfortunately, I would ask for a motion to approve her resignation.
Sadly, I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Ramsey, seconded by Jacoby. Chad, I'm sorry, Chad. We got votes.
Chad Jacoby.
Christopher Kent.
And motion passed. Okay, so that takes us to 7E, discussion and or take action to approve the appointment of a new member for City Council Place 3. I do have, and I'm gonna pass one this way and one this way, and if you guys could look over that together, and if you could look over that together, those are two applications that we actually received today, correct?
It's just one. Oh, they have.
There's one that way, one that way, and I'll swap them in just a second when these guys will relinquish it to me.
Everybody else who were applicants.
Well, actually, I gave them away because I just got them. Probably should have wrote the names down before I gave them away. Well, and yeah, and I know that,
Is it on there? Is that one?
well, he's not on there, but he has showed interest. Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So Mr. Greg Sprinkle is one of them. And the other one is Jennifer, I can't, is that an H or an L?
Dahlman.
Dahlman? Jennifer Dahlman. Did I say that right? Okay. They are both here.
Do you want to look
Jennifer's there, Greg is there. And do either one of y'all like to speak? You don't have to, but if you want to, we would love for you to.
At this moment, or I don't mind saying just a couple words.
Absolutely.
Um,
The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you for having me tonight. I've been in Texas for about 25 years. It was 25 years ago, January 2000, that I came for college. Went to the University of Dallas. Came out to Tawakoni about 7 years ago and have been quietly involved in some of the local community activities, organizations, mostly veteran causes. Been a real estate agent for about 10 years. And so I understand the charm and the lifestyle that is here that we should preserve. But I also know that some of the challenges that we are going to be facing as we welcome new residents. So my desire is to be a participant in that and help, shape that future to where we can continue to be welcoming, but also support those that are already here. So that's why I'm putting my name. I found out about it this weekend and I said, you know what, there's always a highest and best use for land. And I'd like to also be able to use myself as highest and best use for what I can contribute. So I have been on leadership committees and council positions, not only for Metrotex leadership, which is our local board of realtors, but also within church groups, Catholic Daughters of America, some other things for veterans caregivers. So there's a lot of things that I have done in the past that allow me to at least understand Robert's Rules of Order and some of those other things that will be needed. But more or less serving the community is my focus. So if that means stepping up now, or if that means stepping back to let somebody else shine is, my focus.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
I'm Greg Strickland. I'm not sure I can follow that. I've been in Texas my entire life, but that really doesn't matter where you are. It matters what you care about. And so I've been in Tawakoni for the last 14 years, part-time as both a part-time resident and then a full-time resident when I retired last year. And have brought a lot of my friends down here as well because I love the place and we love living here. So what I felt like was that I could bring some of my background, which is really more on the volunteer side, in the youth group side, It's on the construction side and on the economic development side. So while real estate does matter, and it certainly does, I also believe that there's more things to the city that matter there as well. So having been a part of the city of Carrollton, where we lived for 25 years, and helping that city grow from 80,000 residents to 125,000 residents, and being involved in their Parks and Rec department for over 20 years is really where my background is, that and the construction industry. So like Linda, I'm interested in making sure the city gets better. I want to see us move forward, and I want to see us get better and better every year. So I want to continue to have my friends move down here, so as they retire. So great job. So I'll either work with you, for you, or help you.
Yeah.
We got one spot, two candidates. We can only pick one. I would hope that the other one would still be interested in volunteering somewhere else. As you see, we just had another spot open up on our EDC, so there's plenty of options here to continue to volunteer.
Yeah, the EC has a spot. And keep in mind, the polls will be open in November.
Yes.
So that's something else to think about. Okay. Anybody got any questions or thoughts? No? We want to talk about somebody tonight?
It's on there.
That's the idea. So,
It's on there.
I'm just saying it out loud. Do one from you. And that's up to the council. I can't make that decision. So
Anybody want to make a
we
motion?
got a motion to be made either way what we're doing.
Yeah, how are we gonna do this? We're just gonna go around. We'll
Just
say-
make a motion for which one?
Yeah, and I can, y'all are, most of y'all are new to the council, so when we have a vacancy, we are, able to appoint a replacement. If we have two vacancies simultaneously, we would have to call a special election. We don't, for any reason, want to have to call a special election because that's expensive. Okay? And so that is why we, once we knew what was going on with Jack, we wanted to go ahead and have the ability to do an appointment. Okay? And the other thing I would say is we don't have an election coming up that we could even qualify to get into. Otherwise, we have to pay all those fees for it. So that is fine. But yeah, we are enabled, as long as they meet the same residency requirements of anybody who is running, we can appoint whoever. You guys can appoint people who've applied. I think that's really, a good step forward. You guys could appoint somebody else as well.
I understand. Well, then, I've known Greg for 22 years. And I can tell you this guy will bring some serious energy to this board. And so, I guess my vote would be for Greg.
So would you like to make that in the form of a motion?
I can do that.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Greg Sprinkle.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Ramsey, seconded by Chris. We get votes on that?
Judge Gobi.
Chris Burkett.
It's all in favor. So, welcome to the council, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's going to take us to 7G, discussion and take action for an update from Public Works on comprehensive plan and TCEQ SEP plan. Yeah, I've already checked it. I'm so sorry, guys. I've already checked that off as he made his motion. My apologies. We are actually on 7F, discussion and take action for possible creation of additional employee in Public Works to assist management grants, streets, parks, and other necessary needs. And that is Mr. James Chip.
So, we ran for election in the last election cycle. So, Ramsey and I, we actually went and knocked every door, that we could go to, talk to hundreds of people. Then we asked them, what the problems were, what do you want us to do? one of the things, so two things actually bubbled up, and I would say out of the two, I mean, both are equally important, but out of the two, one had, a lot of people have a lot of passion about one of them. The other one, I mean, not so much, but there are more people talking about it. So the thing that had the most amount of passion is the city park. So people, this is the face of our city. People want the park to be a good place for all of us to visit, bring our kids, walk, take a walk and things like that. So we found a few issues. It's not against Public Works Department at all. This is what I'm just talking facts and facts alone, nothing else. This is what evolved out of these discussions. So in the city park, it's not, people say it's not maintained well, we got issues. One of the things I was actually aware of, and we were part of solving it, was the restrooms. They were broken, I think, for a very, very long time. So it was not getting fixed, and then Pam asked me to go get some, talk to some people. I did get some, brought in some contractors, but that is not the right contractors. And then Pam herself, we went around, she got some contractors, got it fixed. Overall, it took about a year, broken toilets. It's not really acceptable. I'm not saying that, not blaming anybody, but we got to do better. We got to have a good, city park. We got to have it.
Do you remember
So
the costs associated with the bathroom repair?
I don't know if she,
7,000.
No, it was more than that. It ended up being, close to 8 by the time.
It was $7,800 and some change is what that cost was. I remember it because we didn't have the money in the park budget to take care of it, and that's why the EDC stepped up and it's appreciated.
it's not the money or anything. So what we really, people are interested in the time it takes. It's not usable for a long time. So that's, we're not blaming again. We're not blaming anyone, but we gotta do better. We gotta do better. We gotta have these amenities. We want people to come into the city and look at this place and walk around and, buy some phones here and all that stuff. So that's one. The second thing was the roads and ditches. There are a lot of complaints, but didn't see that much passion because, things are getting done. There's a lot of work done. There's, no doubt about it. There's going to be potholes. There's going to be, dissatisfaction. There's going to be those complaints. But those were the two things that came to the top. So when I came and talked to you, we wanted to have some kind of a solution too. One of the things that also came from people that said maybe we should have city manager or city administrator. And I talked to Dr. Lee, and she said, there are some regulations that tell us what kind of position it can be. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, somebody taking care of that. It can be part of the public works. It can be separate. We don't really care as people. We just want a good working park. That's the most important thing in my mind. And the city roads, obviously, I was told there is a multi-year plan. If it is there, we want to see it, and we want to see what has been done and what's planned for the next year. So this way we can track it and see if it's happening. So nothing against you, man. As far as you're concerned, we hear, you're the best, water and sewer inside out, outside in. No complaints about water system. It's a good system. We got capacity. It's a good place. No complaints. So it's just, we got to solve the park. That's the primary thing. And then the roads and ditches, we got to make a plan and then do it. That's my recommendation. Have somebody do it. But what we have done so far is not working.
So
Can I say something?
we're really not supposed to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. We're not supposed to banter back and forth in this section of the meeting.
Okay.
But I would definitely talk to you. I will entertain anything you have to say afterwards. No problem at all if you would want me that time. So my understanding that the way this was brought, and there was a conversation that you actually had with Mary and myself, and then we were like, okay, this was a little bit deeper than what we're thinking, so we got Lee involved, and I think you and Lee talked for a couple weeks back and forth on this.
No, we had a good conversation, I mean, kind of before sometime last week, before
Okay.
it
So I didn't know if y'all had talked any time
Yeah.
before that. So am I understanding that what we're saying is the thought or what we're wanting to possibly look at is somebody to manage the people that will do the work or make the city park better or what we want it to be, and manage the people that are gonna work on the roads and ditches? Is that, I mean, I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding
Yeah,
and hearing
so
correctly.
the solution, what we were thinking, but that may not be the only solution, okay, so is that have somebody like a city administrator, someone manage the park, it could be using the same people doing it, just manage the park, make a plan for the road and all that and tell us. And that's not a lot of things, maybe, if we have a person like that, maybe should be able to go get some grants or look for grants, apply for grants. Once we get the grants, manage it. So make it, if it's not a full time, make it 3 days a week or something.
So do we know a candidate for this, and has anybody looked at what that compensation would look like? I mean, do we,
I did get one, actually, somebody had sent it to me, and it's just looking for like $20 an hour, So if we give them three, say 24 hours a week, 3 days or something, can we afford it? It's not a whole lot of money.
I think the council would probably want to look at a resume and have some, yeah, I'm guessing, right? Okay. And I don't mean to be ugly, but the reason why I said that is because I think that's pretty close to what McDonald's is paying, if we're being serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I think McDonald's is somewhere around $14 an hour now. So, and I'm not being ugly, I'm just being, as a matter of fact, I'm being me. That's who I am. I'm pretty frank when I'm talking. I get in trouble all the time for it, but it is what it is.
So this is written, the way I'm reading it is to possibly hire somebody additional to help take care of that.
Doesn't say somebody additional though, I would say it can be somebody already there, but just say that this is your primary job. If this is not going to fill somebody's full time, it's not going to. So, do this, but then.
The roads in the park, the roads and ditches could, I mean,
Easily.
quite honestly, I guess what I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding, and so everybody understands it, because, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I'm not quite understanding for sure that we're asking basically to get a supervisor is the way I'm taking it, is somebody to supervise these things to be done.
That's what I was saying, exactly. And primarily the park, though. Start with the park.
Well, if it's primarily the park, we all might need to look at the park budget, because the park budget will not support an employee, period. I mean, and I'm being honest. I mean, I'm pretty intimate with our budget, and the park budget has no room. I mean, that's the reason why EDC stepped in and kicked money in to fix the bathrooms, because there wasn't enough money in the park budget to afford the $7,834, I think is what it was, to repair those restrooms. And so $7,800, at $20 an hour, that's more than that, if over a year, right? So I think that we're really going to have to, as a council, we're going to have to figure out how to chew on this and see how it comes out, and then go from there.
No doubt, we could look at it. I don't see how it's possible before the new budget year.
Right.
But maybe it's something we sit down with Public Works and the city secretary and see if an additional person is needed or how we split up what we currently have to help with these situations. Not saying another one's not needed, not saying it is. Saying currently in the budget, it's not there. We're gonna have to figure that out. And we need to put a plan together and start looking at resumes and all that.
So could there be a different solution in that could there be someone that's already here that we could say, this is your responsibility? You will report to Mike, whatever. But just make a logical division in the personnel that we've already got.
Exactly.
Bless you.
Is there somebody like that that you think could handle something like that, Mike? Somebody you've got?
I think we already have measures in place that if maybe we would have met prior to the meeting and you saw the structure, it might resolve this entire situation. So I think maybe it warrants a conversation outside of this room. Come by and see me and I'll show you the structure, what we have in place, and then that would give you some idea.
Right now, how many people do you have that in public works?
There's a total of 10 now,
That's including you.
and that includes me.
Mhm.
And we did just hire what's called the 10th man, which it's new. This is brand new, but this person will be working on roads every day by themselves, potholing, doing that kind of stuff. So that should yield some pretty quick results.
So you actually have 11 now.
That's
No,
what
10.
10.
We've been 9 total with
Okay,
me.
okay. I was doing the same math first one, right? Okay.
You don't ever count yourself.
I was told not to count myself.
Ourselves,
but
we don't matter.
I feel like I matter.
We don't matter as ourselves.
So you were saying you just hired one that's gonna be strictly
All
roads.
roads. He's going through a training period right now, and our hope is that this following week, which depending on the weather, of course, because it's going to be brutal, but he will be on roads 5 days a week, all day, unless there's a major leak and we got to pull him off to go do something like that. And as far as the park, we have someone who manages the park. As far as the upkeep of the park, we have to work within the parameters of the budget that we have. And if you look at the taxpayer dollars that are allocated towards the park, it's like change in your pocket. So, there's things we're doing and have been doing. But if you want to see the type of results that you guys are looking for, well, it's going to take a bigger investment, which means you're going to have to allocate more taxpayer funds to that. And I think the challenging part for you guys is going to be, who do you take that from? Do you take it from roads? Do you take it from the police department, administration? You would have to pull it from somewhere.
See, we have a problem, we just need to solve it.
Sure.
So whatever we did so far, it didn't solve it.
Sure.
Never solved it. So we gotta do something different. That's what I'm trying to
Sure.
say. I'm saying, this is what we have to work with. I think there are ways to move money around, there are ways to move people around, there are ways to get, assign more work. So let's look at all of this.
Sure.
But it's can't be fixed.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think sometimes it helps if we could sit down and have a discussion
Let's have a discussion.
and
This is the beginning
see
of it.
what the real situation is before you come in and
Right.
make changes. You got to know what it is currently before you can
Right.
change it.
Well, and I don't think he's trying to, I don't think anybody thought, and after we spoke, he had any belief we would be making big systematic changes tonight. This was a beginning to, these are the issues that he wants to talk about, that we wants to address and see what we can do. So I don't think today was ever gonna be a day in which big changes were gonna be made.
I was just encouraging a conversation outside of this room.
We
Well,
have to have it.
How many men are you budgeted for?
I'm sorry.
How many men are you budgeted for?
10.
So, any answer?
Yeah, we just have that discussion sometime.
Anybody else got anything to add to this?
If I can help in any way, let me know. We've been working pretty close together to figure it out. Been on our agendas. So it's been on our agendas. We've been working towards a goal to get it fixed.
Thank you for saying that because, we've had so much change and transition over the past 3 years. And we finally feel like we're getting some continuity and we're starting to see some progress. But these things don't happen overnight. It does take time. But I think as long as we're all willing to sit at the table and have a conversation and see what the structure is and what we can do to improve it, that's how we make the citizens happy. So, that's my take on the situation.
It's just the beginning of the discussion before this.
I'm guessing there's really not any kind of action on this.
I would say let's set up a workshop or something where we can all sit down and talk and maybe figure out ways to solve it.
What is this workshop? I mean, we can't just say workshop, we gotta say what we're doing a workshop for. But, I mean, if you're talking about a workshop just to have conversations, I don't think that would be plausible for, quite honestly, to warrant everybody's time to meet. I mean, if we're talking about a conversation that maybe something needs to be talked about with Public Works or Michael, that could be a conversation that any one person could go have with him at any time. But if we're gonna have a workshop, we need to have a structure of what we're calling that workshop, what that workshop's gonna achieve, what we're gonna talk about during that workshop, so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you think you're gonna do a budget amendment, or you're gonna need a budget amendment, things like that.
Right.
Well, not to mention, we need to know what these issues are. We haven't heard what
No,
those independent
and I'm
issues
just
are.
saying, if it's conversations, we can't schedule a workshop just to have a conversation. I don't think that would be a proper
So
way for us to go about that.
part of it, from what I'm hearing, you're thinking maybe somebody we already have. What if we, during your next breakout, you kind of show where your men are and the amount of time they're spending? I know you can't get it down to everything.
Right.
But show where your men are so the council can see the availability, if that is there, not there, just so they kind of have an idea, especially the newer ones not understanding what everything's going on. So maybe that's an option to help try to move towards that, and not a workshop right away, but get something out to where they can understand what's going on a daily basis to see where we're at. So when it comes budget time, maybe we need to look at figuring out how to come up with a budget for somebody else.
It's smart. I like it. And also, I mean, you guys are welcome to stop by and see me anytime. I mean,
That sound like a reasonable way to start the.
Yeah, no, just see, I think it is very good. But at some point, we still have to sit down and talk. Not one of us, maybe one of the others. None of us can make a decision, So there are people out there, then we can come up with some kind of a solution. Let's get the basic facts anyway, and then sit on them.
I guess what I'm trying to make sure is we as a council, and Lee, you might back me up or tell me if I'm right or wrong, but what I want to make sure is we as a council aren't trying to frontline manage our personnel from the council seats necessarily, because I think that's just going to end up being a bad look and a train wreck.
Yeah.
Right. I think I want to ask this. There were some questions, right? There's nothing, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing saying that every council member here cannot go take an hour of Michael's time, schedule an hour of his time, or 2 or 3, or an hour here, an hour there, an hour here, until you feel like you've understood and grasped or gotten the answers that you want. I would urge that if there are concerns, answers needed, or questions, or you have suggestions, to maybe do those. And then if there doesn't seem like there's something that's taking place, then let's plant a flag in the ground and say, look, we're gonna have a workshop, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna ask for this, we're gonna ask for that.
Here's what might be meaningful, is a division of labor between the employees in the Public Works Department. What are they doing? What are their predominant things that they're focused on doing? What are the time spent on those items? And who is responsible for who? Who are they reporting to? Obviously, you're the top of the Public Works Department, but who's directly below you? Is that 2 people? Is one of them dealing with water? One of them deals with sewers, or another person on roads? And that's kind of what a hierarchy, give us kind of a decision tree, seeing who's responsible for what. That might be helpful to going forward. Would that be useful? Does that make sense?
No, that will be useful. But
Okay.
then this is the situation. When one of us, let's just sit down with so let's say I sit down with him and I come up with 5 different ideas. You know, he sits down with me, he comes up with 5 totally different ideas. So we got to have a forum at some point to sit down and consolidate.
I don't disagree with you, and I think that that's where what Mike's going to come in on that and say, all right, guys, each of you sat down with me, and I've got 20 different suggestions, and we don't have the budget for that. And he's going to be right. We don't have the budget for that. So you guys are going to have to pick what your top priorities are, because we cannot do that. All of it.
No.
But that's another matter for, we bring that back onto the agenda and go, here, I've talked to everybody. This is the feedback that I'm getting. But I think that that's not a workshop. I think we're not there yet. It's coming back maybe next month from now, or 2 months from now, and saying, this is where we are. Here's everybody's kind of chart of responsibilities. Here's our hierarchy. Here's what you guys have suggested we do. Here's what we've got the budget for.
And again, kind of echoing what she just said, that's what if we're gonna have a workshop, I would urge everybody to go have some conversations with him. And what I'm trying to mitigate is wasting everybody's time, citizens and whoever's time. That way some of your questions can be answered, or some of your wants can be given. And then when we do say, okay, I can say, hey, I've talked to Mike. You can say you've talked to Mike, Chris, whoever has talked to Mike. And now we bring that back to the council and say, okay, we've all had some conversations. We've all had some really good thoughts. We now want to have a workshop. And when we get in that workshop, we've gotten all these conversations out of the way. Instead of having a workshop and we're just sitting here talking about it and nobody really knows what they want to do. We already know what we want to do when we get to that workshop.
And it also gives Mike some time. If he knows all right, here's the next things that you guys are going to be talking about, he can then at a workshop talk to you about what's practical.
I'm going to ask in the meantime, Mike, because of what Chris was saying, to kind of give, an idea of what the people are doing. What is our clock in, clock out?
Home base.
So home base, I would say that this would be very useful for you on home base, is to have them start giving you more detail daily on what they do. Like, so if you've got a guy that and it doesn't have to be, I don't necessarily think it would have to say, worked on a leak for 2 hours, worked on a sewer block for 2 hours. But if a person clocks in and is here for 8 hours and they put on their summary at the end of the day, fixed a leak on 912 whatever drive, fixed a sewer block on whatever drive. You see where I'm going with that? Worked at the sewer plant for, they might want to put that 2 hours.
How do you feel about the one system I've already implemented that you know about?
What would that be?
Every day, I require them to explain to me in detail what they did that day.
In orally?
Everything. It's in a book.
Okay.
So they all have a little notebook and they have to write down every day what they achieved that day. And if I read through what they did that day and I don't believe that they achieved what they should have, well, then I address that.
Is that scanned in anywhere and saved?
No,
It's
not.
handwritten by
That's
each
why I'm
person.
saying it needs to go in home base. And the reason why I said home base is because that could make it easier for you to give it to council in your report. Make them put it in the home base. They all got city cell phones.
Is that possible?
Absolutely,
For
it's
them to put
possible.
detail notes?
I wouldn't have told you to do that if it wasn't possible. Trust me.
And I will say from a legal standpoint, if somebody says, you guys didn't do, we can pull up notes and say, look at
Yeah.
here, we've
Yeah,
got
I
recorded
already knew it
notes.
was possible.
or-
I wouldn't have told you. So have them do that daily, right? And that way, at the end of the month, at the end of the month, you can go into home base and you can take every single bit of that, suck it out of there, throw it into a report and hand it to us and say, here you go. This is what happened. And it's all electronic. We got to start using them phones more. We pay for them for a reason.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do, and bring that to council, and maybe it may give us a whole different light, right?
Right.
We help you too, to see if somebody's,
Underperforming or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway.
not that they are, I have no knowledge of it.
Okay, so I don't don't think there's really a motion to be made here tonight. If you guys are okay with that, I don't think there's anything, we're just gonna end up moving right past this. And then I would ask that everybody does have a conversation. If you feel like you need to have a conversation, get a better understanding, please do so and have a conversation with Michael. Okay? So if there's no motion to be made on 7F, we're gonna let that one stay there, and we're gonna move right past it and move to 7G. Discussion and to take action for an update from Public Works on comprehensive plan and TCEQ and SCP plan.
Which one do you want first? I'll start with the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan did get pushed back, which I notified the previous council, and some of you are still here. It got pushed back to February. And right now, the delay on the comprehensive plan is finding records that they need to help calculate flows and things like that. We've already done all the other tabs in the comprehensive plan. They're waiting for me to solidify the priorities list for the infrastructure for the city. And they're waiting for me to send them sewer plant flows for 7 years. I have found 4 years. So right now I'm working on the last 3 years. Once I get that to them, they will come in February and they will do the presentation.
So the records that you listed are the only things they're waiting on?
Yes,
Okay, have you sent them what you do have?
part of it. We're still sending it. When I scan in a document, it takes about 30 seconds to 40 seconds for one document. So when I'm scanning a single document at that rate now, she has told me here recently that I can come up here to City Hall and scan them all in a matter of minutes.
Oh, you're doing one page at a time?
Yeah.
That's
No, it's a nightmare.
ridiculous.
That's a
Okay,
nightmare.
you should definitely make that faster.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I would come up here and do that, and then, so you said you're trying to find some documents?
Yes.
What does that mean? I guess I need a little bit more understanding. I mean, if it's either we can find them or we can't find them. If we can't find them, then obviously we've got to get with them and say, look, I mean, how far back?
Well, I'm missing some records for about a 4-month period in 2021. And then I'm missing some records from 2016 or 2017.
Okay, so I mean, if we're missing them, we're missing them, right? We can't find something that's lost or find something that's missing. So I think at some point we need to go to them and figure out, okay, look, we're not going to sit here and spend a week, 2 weeks, 10 weeks, 30 weeks, whatever. We're not going to look through every filing cabinet that the city owns. That just seems asinine to me. If we're missing records for those time periods, obviously, if I understood you correctly, you have time periods before and after, right? So we got a hole in the middle in what you just said. So we need to go to them and I mean, we're smart enough in this world that we should be able to take the records before and after and take an average of what went on, and we can use that number.
have they said they can't do it
I
without
don't
it?
disagree with you, but
Well,
typically engineers don't
Hang
want
on,
to
though.
guesstimate.
Let's be realistic.
Okay.
If something's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
We can't make it up,
Right.
and that's what we need to go to them with. If it's gone, guys. We can't, I mean, what are we gonna pull it out of our ear?
Right.
So if we're spending all this time and we're creating all this frustration because there's some missing documents, if it's missing, it's missing. Call a spade and move on. Let's not sit here and dwell on something that's unreachable.
So,
Because, I mean, am I out of line, guys? If I am, somebody please tell
If
me.
it's not there, it's not there. We need to figure out how to move on without it if we can.
I just don't want y'all to get pushed back another month. So I guess my big question is only gonna be for your sake, if you can gather all the documents, come up here, scan it all in and send them what we do have. Can we get, like, what's the timeline on that? So we can get it sent out, make sure they get in here on February.
Yeah, gather them what you have and say, look, this is all that we have. Whatever happens, somebody's lost, somebody's done whatever, the dog ate it, who knows? But say, look, yeah, we're missing these 3 months, but there's more than 3 months in a year. So we should be able to take that entire year. And okay, if we're scared that those 3 months could be high use months, don't we have the years before that or the years after that? We could take those 3 months out of the years before and the years after.
So
And
can I
we
explain that part?
yes, sir.
What they're doing, so you can't take previous years, right? Because what they're doing is showing the increase of flow coming in through the plant every year.
I understand.
And you got to figure out what your capacity is, where you're at with your capacity, so they can determine where we actually are
I
at.
totally understand, but the fact is, if a document is gone, it's gone. So we're gonna have to ask the question, hey, if I don't have these 3 months, and I don't have these 7 months, what's the solution, Mr. or Mrs. Engineer? There has to be a solution, right? We're not landing a rocket on the moon. We're trying to figure out what this is and what it needs to be, the flows. I understand it's important. I understand we gotta get these flows right. But if we got a missing document, we got exactly that, a missing document. We can't, I mean, to me, it's not rocket science that we have to tell them, hey, it's missing.
So, but I get, maybe just back to my question though, what is your timeline? What's the estimated amount of time to get it? What we do
I'll
have?
bring it all up here tomorrow so she can scan it in.
That's what I would do, just
Yeah.
whatever else you can't find.
There you go.
I mean, and like, the answer is if we don't have it, we don't have it, and tell them that. Because I'm sure we're not the only city that has missed some,
Well, I mean,
that's got some missing old documents,
No, every
okay?
city has
You know.
turnover and we darn sure have had plenty of turnover
Yeah.
ourselves and it could have went home with somebody, it could have went in their truck. I mean, who knows, right? They might have dropped it in the racetrack out there. He was out there looking at something. Who knows? So,
All right, so as far as the set plan, I do have Frank here tonight. He's from Schaumburg and Polk. He is actually helping us with this situation at the sewer plant. And if he would like to, I was going to give him a minute to speak about where we're at. I did forward you the communication I got from them. I forwarded it to you.
Right, we
And I
talked,
also brought copies and made sure, you know,
we
if you
talked
guys want to
last
see
month, and
it.
I think the only thing we needed for them was a breakdown of itemized costs that's what we wanted, and I don't know, did we ever receive that?
Well, that's actually what we're still
Okay.
working on because we're talking about equipment that is how old? Like,
Well, the biggest problem is my name's Frank Stevens, by the way. Thank you. The manufacturer of the auger, the screw auger out there, Dodge Rockwell, they no longer exist. So, you know, what our plan is to remove that screw auger, clean it, and ideally, after we inspect it, replace it. But there's the possibility that it's been damaged and it can't be replaced. So we've been trying to find that piece of equipment. So we're dealing with several vendors. We never just go with one or two vendors. We use all of them we know. Hey, help us out. We're trying to, we potentially could be replacing this product and nobody has come up with that information yet. So Michael and I came up with an idea today. We think to expedite this thing, we'd like to just go ahead. We pretty much got the plans done. We just need to put together the contract book. We can do that in a day or so. And present this as we're going to clean and replace the auger. We're going to replace the motor and the gear for the auger. And in the meantime, we're going to keep trying to track down that information on that auger in case after inspection, it is determined that it's irreplaceable. We could have that information actually before somebody gets under contract with you on construction. I can't guarantee that because I can't invent that thing, but we have to come up with another plan of some sort. But that other plan could be expensive.
Frank, let me ask you a question, because I have reviewed what, and I don't want to step on your toes, but for expediency, I reviewed what you sent. I know that the city needs to do all of this work. One of the things what we had talked about is before we presented it to council, is that we would have an itemized breakdown of what looked like 3 kind of separate items. Or is it your position that those 3 are like all have to go together?
Pretty much, it's a one system there at the Headworks. We're calling it the Headworks Improvements Project because it's all right there.
I think what she's talking about in relation to is the other 2 doghouses as well. Is that what you're talking about? Or were you just talking about breaking that down and getting
Right.
prices
It
for
looks
that?
like from this that we had looked like there were 3 separate things, and that's what we had talked about is if we could have an individual cost breakdown for the 3 so that council would look at it and say if they wanted to vote on which items to repair or to move forward, if not all. And it may be that what I felt like maybe an economy of scale to do all at once, but I didn't know that.
Can I see what those 3 items are so that
Is this-
I'm
I
on the
mean,
same page?
It's not the same one?
No, that's what y'all sent me, Frank.
Oh,
Well, if
okay.
the three items should have been the headworks.
The headworks and the two
and
dog
the
houses.
dog houses.
Okay, yeah, all right, I can explain that. We prioritize. We met with Michael out there, and we prioritize. You're probably not gonna be able to do those other 2 items. So we thought the headworks was the most important. That's gonna eat up your $25,000. I probably tell you that.
Okay, so did you just updated this one? Is that
Here's,
right?
here's the update right here.
Yeah.
That's
And I put my signature on it to
I
make
got
sure you.
Oh, I think honestly, this was what we'd asked to get our hands on,
Yeah.
and that's what it was.
And I can't really give you a good
I
estimate
understand.
without that, replacing that auger except we do this other idea and just leave the replacement of the auger off for the moment and try to start getting some quotes from some contractors. In the meantime, we'll try to find somebody that can replace that auger and fit in that housing.
Okay.
And I can give you the other 2, the motor and the gear. I think we've got that stuff. And we can get you a price, what that price would be, we think, and
I'm gonna tell you what,
I'm gonna
if you don't mind, I'm gonna give you my card while we're doing this. If you will send me all the updated documents, and we've talked about this, but we've got to submit some of this to TCEQ. We'll trade. That sound like a fair plan? All right.
or
So did we take the 2 dog houses completely off the table on looking at prices on repairing those?
we can put them in there. I mean, I think the check valves are a couple of items. We talked about that. The more we looked at this, we thought, there's no way. But we can put them in there and just get quotes on them and,
Uh-oh.
you can look at it and see,
Well, I think it would be worth it because all 3 items are needed at the wastewater plant. And I mean, since we've already got you guys involved, you've already gathered some information, probably close to enough information to be able to get to a quoting or, an estimate on those. I think we need those, because, headworks is probably by far the most important, but they all have a pretty high importance.
Okay.
If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, we've got the information. We met
The
with
space,
Michael.
the space between the most important and the next important, the space is really small. I don't know if I can say how tight that is, that margin in this setting, but.
And we may want, because I understand we got the bidding process too, and we may want to tackle them as individuals projects, but we want to kind of figure out what we want to prioritize
Right.
to submit to TCEQ for the SEP plan, and that's fine.
Okay.
But
And just to be clear, because it's, we're working with less than a $50,000 contract, we'd like to not do an advertising for bidding.
right,
We
no,
just go get,
absolutely.
we're gonna try to get 3 or more.
Yeah.
But we'd like to at least set a bare minimum at 2.
That's fine. That's
We hope we can find those contractors. We think we can.
very good. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for coming out. Okay. There's really no action to be taken on
No,
that.
that was just an
Um,
update, yeah.
So, we're gonna move on to number 8. Citizens input, non-agenda related items. Do we have anybody did you get any other signups?
Yes.
Mary, you're gonna get in trouble. You didn't buy me a new camera.
Can you scan that and send me an email?
Yeah. Absolutely.
auto pay already on the water bill. We don't have to do it. Or do it.
Are y'all playing rock, paper, scissors, or drawing straws, see who goes first?
It doesn't matter.
That might get thrown with fun.
I know, that didn't sound good, that's not
Sitting in my lap.
I know it's,
You going first?
I am.
Come on.
And I know it says non-agenda, so I'm gonna kind of sweep this around the agenda item.
Okay.
But to what, Councilman Chimp was speaking about, specifically the park,
Yes, ma'am.
I have been here going on 4 years and have attended a lot of these meetings, and I've been on a lot of the project committees, and I've talked to a lot of people. And this just seems to be like a dog chasing its tail. We keep coming back. And it's, to me, it's heartbreaking because they're right. The citizens are correct. That should be the focal point of West Tawakoni. And it has the potential, if in fact it's managed properly, all encompassing from the RV spots all the way down through the fishing points. It has the ability with which to, with a nominal amount of cash infusion up front, to be a moneymaker. I mean, you go to Sulphur Springs, you go to Farmersville, you go to any of these close-in places that have activities and events and things nonstop, and that has a huge ability to be a big revenue generator for the city. The problem is, and this is where I'm gonna say this reluctantly, but it's truthful. For the vast majority of these revenue building events that could be taking place there, everything from, wine tasting events, all the way through family fitness events, all the way through the fishing tournaments that we've had. Get involved with a golf course partner and have a fishing and a golfing tournament. There could be huge revenue builders. The problem is, your market is not West Tawakoni. And everything that we've done so far, everything that I've seen that's gone out from a publicity standpoint has been within the Quinlan, Emory, West Tawakoni. And we've got to be greater thinking. We've got to do something to spruce it up a little bit, to make it so that it's enticing for an events. But once you start getting them, they will come, and they are money producers. And I've been involved with them, and I know that you could pay back if there was a loan involved. You could pay back if there was grants involved, even better yet. But that could be, as I've said several times before, it is a huge opportunity. And I don't know what you can do in order to, I know you've had groups and groups and groups and committees working on it, but at some point, you got to throw a little money at it to get it started, and a little specialty behind it, and it would go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No. Thank you, Mr. Chimp, for bringing up the park. I noticed y'all have an electronic new sign out here. I don't know what part of the budget it came out of. Did the Tawakoni Circus put any money into the park area budget? Because the slides are broken, have been broken now for 2 years. The basketball nets are bent and falling apart. It's kind of pathetic for a park. It really is. On to roads. I'm on Shenandoah. He brought a road expert, supposedly. He filled in the ditches that we did have. He made new ditches that didn't drain correctly. The man that put in I don't know if it's tiny homes or what, behind the lots on Shenandoah, he conveniently built the berm all the way because he don't want any water draining into his area. It all drains onto our road. When we get a flash flood, it does not drain right. It goes completely across the road. I've got rebar showing, potholes. All the money was wasted. It's gone. I'm tired of driving through mud. Somebody has to do something about the lots that stand in water. But if you have money to buy a sign, out front. Looks like it has some money to invest in the park. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Was there any other citizens input, non-agenda related items? Did you have any more? No? Okay. So that's gonna take us to number 9.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second on that? Made by Chris, seconded by James.
Judge Goodman.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.